Welcome to this exclusive breakdown of one of the most shocking moments in daytime television history, where music legend Paul McCartney found himself in a fiery exchange on Lorraine Kelly's morning show that led to him being abruptly kicked off the set. It all started innocently enough, with the former Beatle appearing as a guest to promote his latest album and reflect on his illustrious career spanning over 6 decades. Lorraine, known for her warm and chatty style, greeted Paul with her signature Scottish charm, asking about his family life, his time with the Beatles, and how he stays creative at the age of 83. The audience in the studio was buzzing with excitement, clapping enthusiastically as Paul shared anecdotes about writing hits like Yesterday and Hey Jude. But beneath the surface, tensions were simmering. Lorraine, perhaps aiming to spice up the interview, delved into more personal territory, questioning Paul's recent environmental activism and his views on modern music trends. Paul responded politely at first, emphasizing his passion for vegetarianism and climate change initiatives through his work with organizations like PETA and his own Linda McCartney Foods line. However, Lorraine pressed on, suggesting that some critics view his continued touring as a cash grab rather than genuine artistry. Paul chuckled initially, deflecting with humor about how music keeps him young, but the host didn't let up, citing online trolls who claim he's out of touch with today's youth culture dominated by artists like Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish. The camera captured Paul's expression shifting from amusement to mild irritation, his eyebrows furrowing as he defended his legacy, pointing out that timeless music transcends generations. The studio audience sensed the shift, their applause becoming more tentative. Lorraine, sensing a viral moment, doubled down, asking if Paul regretted any decisions from his Beatles days, particularly the infamous breakup and his fallout with John Lennon. Paul, ever the diplomat, recounted stories of reconciliation and friendship. But Lorraine interrupted, probing deeper into rumored tensions with Yoko Ono. This is where the conversation took a turn, with Paul firmly stating that some topics are private and should remain so out of respect for those involved. The host laughed it off, calling it just a bit of fun. But Paul wasn't amused. He leaned forward, his voice steady but edged with frustration, explaining that media sensationalism has haunted him for years and that he came on the show to discuss positive things, not dredge up old dramas. The producer in the control room must have been sweating, as the live broadcast continued without a commercial break. Viewers at home were glued to their screens, tweeting furiously about the awkward exchange. Social media exploded with hashtags like #Paul vs Lorraine and #McCartney meltdown. Analysts later pointed out that this wasn't the first time Lorraine pushed boundaries with celebrity guests, recalling similar moments with other stars like Madonna or Elton John. But with Paul, a national treasure, the stakes felt higher. As the segment progressed, Paul attempted to steer back to his new music, playing a snippet from his album on his guitar. But Lorraine cut in again, questioning if remastering old tracks was innovative or just recycling. Paul's response was measured. Innovation comes in many forms, love. Sometimes it's about honoring the past while looking forward. Yet, the host's persistent jabs at his age and relevance began to wear thin. The audience murmured, some cheering Paul on, others laughing nervously. This build-up set the stage for the confrontation that would make headlines worldwide, turning a routine promo spot into a cultural talking point about respect in interviews and the pressures on aging icons. Experts in media psychology weighed in post-incident, noting how such clashes reveal the clash between entertainment value and personal boundaries. Paul's fans rallied online, praising his composure, while critics accused Lorraine of being unprofessional. The show's ratings skyrocketed that day, proving that controversy sells. But at what cost? As we dive deeper into the play-by-play, remember this: behind the glamour of showbiz, real emotions run deep. As the interview unfolded on that fateful morning, Paul McCartney settled into the plush sofa opposite Lorraine Kelly, the studio lights casting a warm glow on his iconic face lined with years of rock and roll history. Lorraine, dressed in her usual vibrant outfit, beamed at the camera, introducing Paul as the man who needs no introduction, Sir Paul McCartney. The applause was thunderous, and Paul waved graciously, his Liverpool accent charming as ever when he thanked the host for having him. They started light, chatting about his recent knighthood honors and how he spends time with his grandchildren, sharing heartwarming stories of teaching them Beatles songs on the piano. Lorraine laughed along, complimenting his enduring energy, but then she pivoted to his diet, jokingly asking if being vegetarian for over 50 years ever tempted him with a bacon sandwich. Paul smiled, recounting how his late wife Linda inspired the change and how it's benefited his health. The conversation flowed smoothly until Lorraine brought up his activism against factory farming, showing a clip from one of his campaigns. Paul elaborated passionately, discussing the ethical and environmental impacts, urging viewers to consider plant-based options. However, Lorraine countered with a viewer's question: "Some say celebrities like you preach about the environment while flying private jets, a hypocrisy?" Paul paused, his eyes narrowing slightly, and responded thoughtfully, admitting the challenges but highlighting his efforts to offset carbon footprints through tree planting initiatives. The host nodded but pressed, "But Paul, at your age, don't you think it's time to slow it down? The tours, the activism, it's a lot." Paul defended his schedule, saying music and causes keep him alive, referencing how he's performed for billions and influenced policy changes. The audience clapped, but Lorraine interjected with a quip about how younger artists like Ed Sheeran are taking over stadiums with fresh sounds. Paul's reply was witty: "Ed's brilliant, but remember, I helped pave the way." Yet, the tone shifted when Lorraine delved into his personal life, asking about his marriage to Heather Mills and the messy divorce, a topic Paul has avoided in recent years. He politely steered away, saying, "That's water under the bridge, let's focus on the now." But Lorraine persisted, reading from a card: "Fans want to know if you've found peace after all the tabloid drama." Paul's discomfort was palpable, his fingers tapping on his knee as he reiterated his desire for privacy. The camera zoomed in on his face, capturing the subtle tension. Behind the scenes, producers whispered, debating whether to cut to a break, but the live format kept rolling. Social media was already abuzz, with users speculating on the awkward vibe. Lorraine, perhaps misreading the room, laughed and said, "Come on, Paul, we're all friends here." He spilled the tea. This phrase, trendy among Gen Z, seemed out of place, and Paul raised an eyebrow, questioning if the show was turning into a gossip fest. He expressed disappointment, noting that he expected a respectful discussion about his art, not sensationalism. The host defended her style, claiming it's what viewers crave in morning TV. Paul countered, "Viewers deserve substance, not scandals." The exchange heated up subtly, with Lorraine asking about his wealth and if he donates enough to charities, implying greed. Paul, voice rising slightly, listed his philanthropic work, including schools in Liverpool and aid for Ukraine. The studio fell quieter, the audience sensing the escalation. This back and forth highlighted generational differences in media consumption, boomers valuing privacy, millennials pushing for transparency. Commentators later analyzed how Lorraine's probing reflected broader trends in UK TV, where hosts like Piers Morgan thrive on controversy. Paul's fans flooded comment sections, defending his right to boundaries. As the segment neared its peak, Paul attempted one last redirect to his music, but Lorraine's next question about his rumored feuds with other musicians pushed him closer to the edge. The air thickened with anticipation, setting up the explosive moment that would define the interview. The turning point in the Paul McCartney and Lorraine Kelly interview came when the discussion veered into highly sensitive territory, igniting a spark that quickly turned into a blaze. Lorraine, emboldened by the live audience's reactions, posed a question about Paul's relationship with his Beatles bandmates, specifically probing the long-standing rumors of jealousy over song credits. Paul, maintaining his composure, explained the collaborative nature of their work, crediting John, George, and Ringo equally. But Lorraine interrupted, "But Paul, some say you were the control freak and John even called you out in songs like How Do You Sleep?" This reference to Lennon's post-Beatles diss track visibly struck a nerve. Paul's face hardened, and he responded firmly, "John and I had our differences, but we reconciled before his tragic death." Dragging this up disrespects his memory. The host, perhaps chasing ratings, pushed further. Fans speculate that Yoko broke up the band. Your thoughts? Paul shook his head, his voice laced with exasperation. "That's ancient history, and it's painful. Why focus on negativity when there's so much joy in the music? The audience gasped audibly, some whispering in support of Paul. Lorraine laughed nervously, trying to lighten the mood with, "Oh, Paul, don't be so serious, it's just tele-banter." But Paul wasn't having it. He leaned in, his iconic charm giving way to genuine frustration. "Banner? This feels like an ambush. I came here to share my new work, not defend my life story against tabloid myths." The control room buzzed with urgency, as producers signaled for a commercial. But Lorraine waved it off, saying, "Let's keep it real, folks." She then questioned Paul's recent collaborations, suggesting they were attempts to stay relevant amid declining album sales. Paul defended his artistry, citing critical acclaim for his latest release. But Lorraine countered with chart data. "But you're not topping the charts like in the 60s, so does that bother you?" At this, Paul's patience snapped. He stood up slowly, removing his microphone, and stated calmly but assertively, "I've had enough of this disrespect. Thank you for the invitation, but I'm done." The studio fell silent, the audience stunned as Paul walked off set, his footsteps echoing. Lorraine, flustered, stammered, "Well, that was unexpected." "We'll be right back after this break." Cameras cut away, but not before capturing the shock on everyone's faces. In the aftermath, the clip went viral instantly, amassing millions of views on YouTube and TikTok within hours. Media outlets dissected the moment, with some praising Paul for standing his ground against invasive questioning, while others criticized him for being too sensitive. Lorraine issued a statement later, apologizing if she overstepped but defending her role as a journalist seeking honest conversations. Paul's team released a brief note, saying he appreciates engaging interviews but draws the line at personal attacks. Psychologists commented on the power dynamics, noting how celebrities often face unbalanced scrutiny. Fans organized online petitions supporting Paul, while detractors accused him of diva behavior. The incident sparked debates on morning TV etiquette, with comparisons to similar walk-off spy stars like Kanye West or Naomi Campbell. Industry insiders revealed that guest bookings dropped temporarily for the show, as agents grew wary. Yet, paradoxically, viewership surged, proving the adage that no publicity is bad publicity. As details emerged, reports suggested Paul had pre-interview agreements on off-limits topics, which Lorraine allegedly ignored. This breach fueled discussions on consent in media. Social media influencers recreated the scene in skits, amplifying the drama. In retrospect, this confrontation highlighted the evolving landscape of celebrity interviews, where boundaries are tested for entertainment. Paul's dignified exit became a symbol of self-respect, inspiring many. Following Paul McCartney's dramatic exit from Lorraine Kelly's show, the immediate fallout was chaotic and captivating, drawing global attention to the clash between a music icon and a seasoned host. As Paul disappeared behind the curtains, the studio audience erupted into a mix of applause and boos, creating a cacophony that forced Lorraine to ad-lib through the awkward transition. She smiled awkwardly at the camera, saying, "Well, folks, that's live TV for you, full of surprises. Let's hear from our next guest." But the damage was done. This segment had already been clipped and shared across platforms like Twitter, now X, where users debated fiercely. Hashtags trended worldwide, with #support Paul gaining traction among Beatles enthusiasts who flooded Lorraine's socials with criticism. Conversely, some defended the host, arguing that tough questions are part of the job. Backstage, reports leaked that Paul was visibly upset, pacing in his dressing room while his manager contacted the network executives demanding an apology. Lorraine, meanwhile, huddled with producers, reviewing the tape to assess the PR implications. The network issued a quick statement: "We value all our guests and regret any discomfort caused during today's show." But Paul wasn't appeased easily. In a rare post-interview comment, he told a waiting paparazzo, "Interviews should uplift, not tear down." Media pundits on shows like Good Morning Britain analyzed the exchange frame by frame, pointing out body language cues: Paul's crossed arms, Lorraine's persistent smile that signaled escalating tension. Psychotherapists weighed in, discussing how repeated public scrutiny can lead to burnout in legends like Paul. Fans reminisced about his past graciousness in interviews, Contrasting it with this rare outburst, the incident also revived interest in Paul's biography, boosting streams of his music catalog by 30% overnight, as reported by Spotify Analytics. Lorraine's show saw a ratings spike, but at the cost of sponsor hesitancy, with some brands pulling ads fearing association with controversy. Online forums like Reddit exploded with theories. Was it staged for publicity? Did Lorraine have a personal grudge? Investigations revealed no prior beef, but highlighted her reputation for probing questions. Paul's supporters organized virtual listening parties, celebrating his resilience. Critics, however, labeled him out of touch, claiming modern audiences demand vulnerability. The debate extended to Parliament, where MPs discussed media ethics and celebrity culture. International outlets like CNN and BBC covered the story, interviewing experts on British TV norms. Paul's family, including daughter Stella McCartney, posted subtle support on Instagram, sharing throwback photos. Lorraine appeared on her show the next day, addressing the elephant in the room. "Yesterday got a bit heated, and I apologize to Sir Paul if I crossed the line. He's a legend, and we wish him well." But Paul remained silent publicly, focusing on his tour preparations. The confrontation inspired memes, from edited clips with dramatic music to AI-generated alternate endings. Cultural commentators noted parallels to historic TV moments, like David Frost's Nixon interviews or Oprah's with Meghan Markle, underscoring power shifts in media. As weeks passed, the story evolved, with Paul granting a follow-up interview to a rival show, where he reflected philosophically, "Life's too short for negativity, let's make music." This redemption arc softened public opinion, turning the incident into a teachable moment. Ultimately, it reinforced Paul's status as an enduring figure, while prompting introspection in the TV industry about respecting guests' boundaries. In the weeks following Paul McCartney's abrupt departure from Lorraine Kelly's show, the repercussions rippled through the entertainment world, reshaping perceptions and sparking widespread dialogue. Paul's team swiftly managed the narrative, releasing a polished statement via his official website. Sir Paul appreciates the platform but prioritizes mutual respect in all engagements. He looks forward to connecting with fans through his music. This measured response contrasted with the frenzy online, where video edits of the confrontation amassed billions of views, often set to Beatles tracks for ironic effect. Lorraine, facing backlash, dedicated a segment to mental health and celebrities, subtly acknowledging the pressures Paul might face. Viewer mail poured in, divided between sympathy for Paul and defense of Lorraine's journalistic style. Ratings for her show initially dipped but rebounded with a lessons learned episode featuring media experts. Paul's album sales surged, proving the Streisand effect in action. Attempts to suppress attention only amplify it. Concerts sold out faster, with fans chanting his name in solidarity. Lorraine issued a personal apology via social media, to Sir Paul, "With love, sorry if my questions hit a nerve. You're always welcome back." Paul didn't respond directly, but insiders said he accepted it privately. The incident prompted industry changes, with networks reviewing guest protocols to include clearer topic boundaries. Talk show hosts like James Corden and Graham Norton publicly supported balanced interviews. Paul's activism gained renewed focus, with donations spiking to his causes. Biographers updated books with this chapter, portraying it as a testament to his integrity. Social media influencers dissected the psychology, noting how ageism played a role in Lorraine's queries. Younger generations discovered Paul's catalog anew, bridging gaps. Legal experts debated if Paul could sue for defamation, but he chose grace over litigation. The story inspired art, from fan fiction to satirical sketches on Saturday Night Live. Lorraine's career weathered the storm, emerging stronger with a book deal and tough talks. Paul's tour kicked off triumphantly, with him joking on stage about dodgy interviews. This light-hearted nod diffused lingering tension. Global media compared it to other celebrity walk-offs, like Tom Cruise's Oprah couch jump or Kanye West's interruptions. It highlighted evolving expectations in fame, where authenticity clashes with privacy. Paul's fans created tribute videos, compiling his kindest moments. Lorraine reflected in interviews, admitting growth. "I've learned to read the room better." The confrontation became a case study in communication courses, teaching empathy and questioning. As time healed, rumors of a reconciliation surfaced, with Paul sending Lorraine a signed album.